Anything else?
I think that's all I got, David. What you doing?
A couple things. This week, I had a busy week this week.
I played a new board game.
No, I won't even start with that. I did have a new board game.
Start that way.
No, speaking of Netflix, I watched a movie on Netflix that everybody should go watch, and it's amazing. Okay. It's a movie called Sing Street.
Oh, God.
I know. I talked to you already about it. He's not in it. Okay, it is a movie about... It's a 1980s. It's set in the 1980s, mid 80s, in Ireland, which is struggling to. People are like, it's kind of like a depression-ish type thing. People can't find jobs. Yeah, and they're trying to people are moving to the UK or to England and stuff like that to try to go find jobs. Well, this family, it's about this one kid who's in this family that's having a lot of family problems. The mom and dad don't like each other, and they're frustrated about not having any money. Ultimately, he has taken. He's taken out of his higher end school. They live in a nicer part of town in Ireland, and he's put into this.
It's like a private school kind of thing.
He's in a private school, but then he goes to what is it called? Parochial school, like a religious school for boys. Mm-hmm. So it's a rough school nonetheless. So he gets there, and it's one guy tells him to points a giant slingshot at him. I think they're in high school, they're freshmen or sophomores in high school. This school that they're at, and everyone's a real jerk to him or whatever. But he sees this girl across the street, and this one guy that he kind of befriends, who becomes friends with him, he's like, "Who's that?" And he's like, "Oh, she always stands outside, but no one knows. She won't talk to anybody. She doesn't like anybody."
What a weirdo.
And so he walks over there, and because his older brother is kind of like this loser who still lives with his family, that dropped out of college because they're this rich family. He still lives with them, and he's into 80s music. The whole movie's about music, and it's about 80s music specifically.
Wait.
Is it a movie that came out this year?
Yeah, it came out this year.
We saw the trailer for it.
Yeah, I was going to say, that sounds really familiar.
Yeah, it came out this year.
You're saying a movie called Sing Street is about music, David?
Well, the thing is that they live on the name of the name of the school is called Sing Street because they live on SYNE Sing Street, I guess. Anyway, point is I don't know. That's how they say it.
Sin Street?
Whatever. Anyway, he goes across the street and he tells the girl, because he's been watching all these 80s videos, because back in the day, remember, 80s videos were just a hot girl and the band singing. That was all it was. Aha, Hall & Oates, all of that 80s music, Depeche Mode, all that. Anyways, and then all of that music's in the movie, which is fantastic. So he goes across the street and he tells the girl, "Hey, I'm in a band and we're going to be filming a video and I'd like you to be in the video." And she's like, "Well, what kind of music do you guys play?" And he's like, "Oh, we're futuristic. We're into futuristic music." And she's like, "Oh, that's cool." And he's like, "Well, we're going to be filming here pretty shortly. Would you be in?" She's like, "Oh, I'll see." And so he goes across the street and he's like, "Oh, she talked to you." And he's like, "Yeah, we have to start a band." So it's about him getting together a bunch of schoolmates to start a band, and it's so amazing if you're a kid of the 80s, or even if you're not. I mean, the music, all that music, you still listen to it. Duran Duran, Hungry Like the Wolf, Rio, all those
sure.
songs. If you played Rock Band, for God's sake, you know this music. But the movie is about that relationship between him becoming in a band, coming of age, getting in the band. But it's a really well told, trying to get girls, and the best part is his brother is helping him along to learn how to become a better band and learn how to write music. And he's like, "You have to do your homework, listen to the Clash," or something like that. And so the next song that he writes sounds like what he just heard. And so the girl, for instance, he gives her cassettes of all the songs, and then she's in the videos, and the videos are terrible, but he's just doing it to get this girl.
But it's original music in the style of existing.
And it's all original music, but you can see they were like, "Okay, we got to make a song
inspiration
that, it sounds like Duran Duran's Rio. Then we have to make a song that sounds like The Cure, And she's like, "Write a song for me that's happy sad." And he's like, "What does that mean?" And he's like The Cure, they're happy sad. You know what I mean? It's sad music, but it's an upbeat.
Yeah.
So it's just a fantastically told original story with original music. The characters are super lovable. It's in Ireland, so you get that great Irish accent.
Just turn on closed captions. Is that bad?
Almost. It's not. It's not. You like Degs? It's not that bad, but it's close. But it's. I just. The movie is so amazing. It's people loved Glee back in the day when they had original music where they didn't. I think they did original music.
Sure.
But shows like Nashville.
No, I did not. No, I don't know about liking.
No, but those shows were amazing because they took music that people love and then they put it in a new light, and that's what this is. But it's original music, and I listen to the songs now because they're that good. The music is so well written. I cannot recommend this movie enough. A bunch of people said it's top 100 for this year or top 10. It potentially
I'll say for this year it's probably top 10 or top 5.
Yeah, and also it might be. This is a close. I have to make this might make the best of 2016 for me because it was really, really good. I sing the song, "Drive it like it's stolen." It's so good. It's so good. And they make jokes about watching movies of 80s movies. "Oh, have you seen Back to the Future? You know that scene in the 50s with they're in the, we're going to make a video like that where people are all in the the skirts and they're all, and it's just we're all in suits, that scene from Back to the Future." And it's This is so cool. Like it's that timepiece movie too, where it's like everything's 80s, everything feels 80s. It's so good.
Member. That's what
it's member, super member.
Member berries, man.
I love it. Yeah. I love it. So okay, that's the first thing I want to talk about. The other thing is I finished the game this week. Again, me being nostalgic, I finished the remastered version of LucasArts games Day of the Tentacle, which is a point-and-click adventure set in the universe of what was that? What was it called? Maniac Mansion, which was an old school game, like really old school game where you're a bunch of kids in a mansion trying to solve a mystery. And then it takes those characters and it made a new game called Day of the Tentacle. It's like Sam and Max or Full Throttle or any of those point-and-click and style games. It's first of all, the artwork is amazingly better. You can switch back and forth between like remastered and classic, and you're just like, your eyeballs bleed when you switch back to classic. It's just like, geez, that looks so bad. But it's the thing I love about these story-based games, which that's all they are. I mean, there is some problem solving and some puzzles, but really it's just funny story. Like the jokes hold up so well. Like it's absolutely amazing. Now, playing this game, I played it way back in the day on like my Packard Bell computer. I remember playing it on there, loading it with like 16 A drive discs, a floppy disk. It took forever to install it. It was funny too when I downloaded it on Steam. It was like done. Yeah. I was like, oh geez, that was quick.
It's like 60 megs, no big
deal. But the jokes in it hold up. The audio, the recording still sounds great. The characters are interesting. It's this whole idea that you have to. It has this time travel mechanic. So one person is 200 years in the past, one character is in the present, and one character is 200 years in the future. And there was this tentacle that got into toxic waste and became sentient and evil, and then takes over the world. Around, so he grows arms, and that's what makes him allowed to take over the world. It's hilarious. But
so when you say tentacle, you mean like an octopus tentacle?
I think if you took an octopus tentacle, chopped up the top of it, where there's like 3 suction cups, and he has arms.
Yeah, his arms, and like his eye is the top one, and his mouth is the middle one. It's really cartoony. Very, very cartoony.
Okay.
That's not the important part. What's funny is like the characters have, items like you in most point and click, and the mechanic is that they're called Jonocrons, and they're toilets, porta potties, and you can flush an item, an inanimate object, into the toilet, and then people in the 200 years in the past or 200 years in the future can pull out the object. So for instance, there's this part where one character in the past needs one character in the present needs vinegar. So you take wine from 200 years ago and you put it in a sealed container and you put it in the ground, and then that person gets it, and then it's like vinegar.
Covers it,
yeah, so there's this time thing where like you can do things to different
materials.
I'll bury this during this time and he'll uncover during that time.
Right. There's like a time capsule and stuff like that. And like George Washington shows up in it because it was like 200 years ago. It was like Thomas Jefferson and all this stuff. And it's like the tentacles took over in the future and they're trying to go in the past to try to stop the tentacle from taking the story doesn't matter. But what is funny about these games is like I remember playing them and how like back in the day you didn't have like the internet to check a cheat code or like how things you just had to try everything and spend hours. There's a part in the game where you have to like combine 2 of your items that make no sense to make something to use in the game. And I was like, I remember this part in the game because I remember the only thing I remember about this game is this moment being utterly frustrating. And I was like, oh yeah, it's these 2 items that you put together and that's how you solve it. And I was like, how did anyone figure that out? Like, I just
these
clicked.
days video games walk you through most stuff, and there's games out there where it's like you've tried this too many times. Do you just want to skip this part?
Yeah, or do you want a hint? Yeah, no, that's becoming more and more. The Hyper Light Drifter does not do that. That game is almost so frustrating that it's like I got to put down the controller. Yeah. Like I'm doing this, like it's insanity, doing the same thing over and over and getting the same results, and expecting different. But Day of the Tentacle is fantastic. If you like, I talked about Grim Fandango, which I think you would like because it's got the Day of the Dead type stuff. That's the whole character. You're somebody who's like you're a travel agent, giving people their traveling death, like how they're like what they're going to be able to do in their death, and like so you're like give good people if they did good deeds, and then like anyways, same idea, same people that helped write it. I forget their names, but the head of Double Fine, he wrote it and all this stuff. It's just the music's great, the artwork's great. It's just a fun game to play. It takes about 5 hours to play. A lot of fun, but there is one frustrating part, and I'm not going to ruin it because you should just try to figure it out, like I did when I was. A young adolescent kid playing computer games. The last thing this week is a board game. Surprise.
What? Is there ever gonna be a week where you don't? I'm gonna be like, Dave, are you okay?
Oh, well, I got this new app. I think I told you it's like I can track what games I played and I can try to see. So I'm like setting a high score for how many games I play a week and how many original different games I play. But this week I played a new game. I also have a list of shame of games. Board game collectors know this. They have they own a bunch of games that they've never even played or played once. So I try to scratch.
And you have many.
I have very many.
You buy more.
And I keep buying. I know the list keeps getting bigger the other way. But anyways, so this week I checked out this game called Steam. It is a kind of a classic. This is made by a designer named Martin Wallace. He makes a bunch of kind of classic, traditional designer, quote unquote, board games.
This is like the Gaben. Like, can you be like the Steam marketplace?
No, it's not Steam. The game, not like the game manufacturer platform.
Okay.
No, it's a train game. So it's called Steam Rails to Riches, which I love it. Now there's a lot of train games out there. Like Ticket to Ride is probably the most popular that people think
when
of.
When you said Steam, I was like, oh, is it like that game
Ticket
with the
to
trains?
Ride, yeah. It is a train game. But what you're doing is you're unlike Ticket to Ride, where I guess you are laying track. And in this game, you are laying track, but really it's a pick up and deliver game. So what it is you're going to be working to lay track on this big grid that has like these hexes, and you put down. There's all different types of tracks that you can put down. They're different shapes and different turns and curves. And what you're trying to do is connect cities and connect towns to each other. And then each of these cities have a little cube on them, which represents a particular good. And certain color cubes want to go to certain color cities. So you're picking up ones and bringing it to another. The trick here is that you can use other people's tracks. You claim the track as you build it. So let's say we all built a track to all different cities throughout the map, and I want to deliver this good to Baltimore or something like that. If I use my tracks, I get all the track points for that, which allows me to either get victory points or boost my income, different things like that. But if I use your guys' tracks, I can, but then you'll get how many tracks of yours
like
that I use
or something.
You guys get points for that too, and I don't. So it's this really interesting area control, because there's like, do I quickly expand out and try to lay as much track as I can, which will make you broke, right? Or do I increase my locomotive level so I can travel further with a piece of a good to a particular city? There is a lot of planning in this game, like short-term and long-term planning. So every choice matters, and it's like thinky. Yeah. But it's fun because I always love that mechanic of the best laid plans. Like you could sit there and think like, okay, I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to do this, and then Gerald drops a stick
the
of dynamite.
Piece of track.
Yeah,
like,
no, you did. Why did you do that?
Yeah.
And there's this role selection at the beginning of the game, or at the beginning of each round. There's like 7 different things you can choose to do on your turn, and basically you get like a secret, or not a secret, an additional buff or additional ability, and only you get that. But the better the ability, the later you go in the next turn. And turn order is super important because we're laying track. The first person to lay track claims that track.
Of course,
so it's this expansion versus like spending time making your company better. That I love, and it's very boring as far as the artwork, in my opinion. Like this is one of those games where like when you see the map, you're like, oh my God, like please don't make me play this. But as soon as the mechanics are simple, but it's like, oh,
this takes about 90 minutes to play.
Yeah, it takes a little longer than that. I mean, when you're learning it too. But I played it with 4 players. It's a lot of fun. It's
3 to 5.
Yeah, it's really, really good. It is a little bit expensive, but I would definitely recommend it. It's on the top 100 on Board Game Geek for a reason.
It also says on the side of the box that it's good for medium-sized people and taller people too.
Exactly. So definitely check that out. That's Steam Rails to Riches. If you like train games like Ticket to Ride, but you want something a little bit more heavier, this is like right up your alley. If you like trains, man, people like trains. I don't
choo-choo.
I'm not a train guy. Like I don't, you know what I mean? Like I think they're cool, but like people like build model trains.
I told Sarah, like one of the biggest things I'm looking forward to when I get old is having like the basement with the
trains.
Freaking trains everywhere. Yeah.
So definitely check that out. Okay. Now that we got through What You Doing, we've got a couple things this week. First, we're going to start off with a review. We got a standard review this week. There's a reason why we brought you on the podcast, and that's because we are reviewing Disney.
She's amazing.
Oh, that's it. And we are reviewing. We are reviewing the latest Disney animated film. That is
Moana.
Moana, not Moana.
No,
Moana.
She says her name numerous times in the movie.
Well, I